Welcome to the 2022 West African Missions Report. My name is Chris Ogbonnaya, and I serve as a regional family chair for our West African Missions. And I'm here this evening with my beautiful wife.
I'm Rolayo Ogbonnaya.
And we'll attempt this presentation to chronicle all the incredible things that God used us to do, to visit our churches. We started earlier this year in March and also in June, where we visited the Nigerian churches, the churches outside of Lagos. There are about 18 of them, and we're able to visit these churches in company of our dear friend and brother, Sam Onuoha, who serves as our financial administrator. So before we go on and delve into the exciting time that God gave us outside the shores of Nigeria to the 4 countries that we're going to be majorly talking about during this report, we will want to hear from our brother and our friend who is our companion in this trip, our brother Sam Onuoha, our financial administrator. Let's hear from him.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Sam Onuoha. I will oversee the administration in West Africa English-speaking churches, where we have 34 churches, or 35 for now, and I serve as the administrator for the mission. So we recently concluded our visit to most of these churches. So our first port of call was Guinea-Bissau. These churches have been in existence for a long while, and it's been led by Emmanuel EJ and being supported by his wife, who does the administration as the volunteer administrator for the church. And this church over the years has been without a full-time staff, and that's affecting both the numerical growth and even the administration. Right now, they have the challenges of the meeting venue, where their meeting is so remote and obscure that it's really very challenging bringing friends or family members to worship in that location. Of course, we see it as a very, very challenging, and that is the most important need in the church in Guinea-Bissau. Because we notice even in the Bissau there, we have university campuses, we have other tertiary institutions, but we don't have the manpower to be able to reach out, go into those campuses and reach out to people. So top needs in Guinea-Bissau, we need a full-time staff, we need a functional and accessible meeting facility. And of course, Bissau is also a Portuguese-speaking country, so language difficulty is also part of the challenge we're having. So, but we need funding to be able to send full-time people who can actually go into that country and evangelize the environment and move the church forward in terms of numerical growth and financial growth as well. So from Guinea-Bissau, we moved to Banjul, the Gambia. Banjul, the Gambia is part of the Sierra Leone bloc, and that's a church that is, very highly mobile. So we discover also that their financial contribution has been growing over time. The greatest challenge here is the fact that cost of renting meeting venue is very expensive, that it takes all their local contribution. Buying land to develop a facility is much more cheaper than renting one. They have established a project fund. They are calling on their friends, they are calling family members, they are calling African missions to help them raise funds so that they can be able to buy land, which is easy to get. Then from Banjul, the Gambia, we flew down to Freetown, Sierra Leone. And in Freetown, Sierra Leone, we visited the churches there, the church in Freetown, the church in Mile 91, the church in Makeni, and even the Seed Fellowship in Kono. So what we discover in these churches, we discover disciples who are very, very committed and ready to do anything. It brings a lot of their friends to church at every meeting opportunity, but the administration that's not very functional because we don't have anybody on full-time as a full-time administrator in the whole of Sierra Leone block. All the churches in Sierra Leone, with the exception of Freetown, they own their facility. The church in Makeni own their facility. The church in Mainaitua own their facility. So their challenge is having the tools to work with. We lack the funding to be able to produce all those basic equipment that our leaders, our staff need to work with. And also the fact that we need to hire full-time administrator, even if it's one who will act as a block administrator in Sierra Leone, who will now be responsible to oversee the financial operations, the administrative operations in all the churches, both in Sierra Leone, in Makeni, in Mainaitua, even as we are looking forward to replanting Bo, and also even the Seed Fellowship in Kono, which is warming up to be formally recognized as a church in a few years to come. So the administrative responsibilities in that block is huge. So we cannot wait any longer to hire a full-time administrator. And that's why we're expecting that African Missions Association will be able to help us seed money to be able to get that done. Then from Sierra Leone, we moved and flew down to Liberia, Monrovia, Liberia. In Monrovia, we have 6 churches. We have a church in Monrovia, we have a church in Zwedru, we have a church in Topmabog, Bomi, we have a church in Ganta, we have a church in Mbanga, we have a church in Totota. So we visited all these churches except the church in Zwedru, which we cannot do because of the topography of the road. It will take us like 2 days to go to Zwedru by road. So what we did was to ask the leaders to join us in Monrovia, because in Monrovia we conducted a lot of training programs in all the Liberia churches that their meeting venues are very, very poor and remote and cannot attract quality evangelism that will actually mature and grow the church. In all those churches outside Monrovia, most of them are not on full time. Maybe only one couple, the couple in Ganta, that are both on full time. The other ones are volunteer church leaders. So it's a challenge to be able to manage those churches. And in some of those churches, you find out because of lack of human capital, even with a lot of their friends coming to church, it's difficult to study Bible with them. So our records keeping are not very, effective because of lack of human capital. So the challenge we have in those in Liberia is lack of full-time administrator. Although we have one full-time administrator in Monrovia Church, that is the only administrator we have in the whole of Liberian block. So there's need for African Mission to help us so that we can be able to sponsor and hire one full-time administrator who can help to run the administrative affairs of our churches in Liberia block. We have a functional board there. They have structures, they have salary structure, they have welfare packages, they have budget committees, they have finance committees, and all of that in Monrovia. But when decisions are taken, there's always a problem of implementation because of lack of a full-time administrator who the board can delegate. So there is need for improvement in that. But their local contribution is so low that there's little or nothing they can do to improve on the welfare package of the staff, improve on their meeting arrangement like facilities, which is very rural in nature wherever they are. It's very poor and it's not very efficient and effective. So generally, we are happy that we go. We have seen a lot of things and we want to come back home and see how we can be able to partner with African Mission to get some of these problems solved. To continue to pray for us and join us in prayers even as we continue to work towards solving these challenges and problems we identified. Thank you, even as we continue to listen to Chris and Rolayo.
Thank you so much, Sam, for those incredible reports and also being able to enumerate all the needs and the challenges and the opportunities God has given us to really be able to move some of these churches forward. And so I want to begin by, again, expressing to us the need for why these reports is important and why, especially to let you know that this trip is to help bring our 35 churches together, to to bring their needs to the forefront, to be able to see how we can bring leadership training, leadership renewal, encouragement for some of our far-flung churches that do not get visitors from time to time, to go and find out how they are doing and to see how best we can continue to encourage them to remain true to the faith and to continue to do the great work that God has called us to do. So we are very, very privileged and honored to be part of this trip. So here we are as we begin to talk about just all that God was able to use us to do during these past months. We started with our visit to our churches in Nigeria. We have 4 blocks with 8 churches that we visited, and that was between March and June. And it was a great time that we had visiting our churches and seeing how they are progressing and encouraging them and doing some training and teaching as we went along. And so here came the month of October, November, and we ventured out to visit 4 of the countries under our West African missions: Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. And so we begin the story from Guinea-Bissau.
It was amazing for me personally, traveling all the way. The Guinea-Bissau church is the furthest west of all our churches. Guinea-Bissau and Gambia actually are on the furthest westernmost coast of our continent of West Africa. And so because of that, they are far in proximity to us here in Nigeria. So I was really looking forward to that trip and making that journey, see these amazing brothers and sisters. For me, I felt so excited going to Guinea-Bissau. It's a country of a population of just about 2 million people, and the church is there in Bissau, a small church. They speak the language of Portuguese Creole, but their dedication and commitment to God is so encouraging. Young men and women, young in age, but strong in the faith. Many of them, some of them are a little bit older, but a good number of them pretty young. And the way they're so humble to want to learn, humble to want to be unified, to want to grow, so eager, so welcoming of us, and just wanting to know what they could do to grow and to give glory to God. They're willing to expand the boundaries, they're willing to go out of their comfort zone, and just doing everything they can to see that the gospel spread in the city of Guinea-Bissau. One of our greatest blessings in the West African mission is family. And it was great for us being able to connect the church in Ghana with the church in Guinea-Bissau directly. From now on, the churches in Ghana will be looking in on the church in Guinea-Bissau as first responders of a sort, look in on them, visit them, support them, and just disciple them and see to it that that church is doing well. And so the Guinea-Bissau church will have the shoulder of the Ghana churches to lean on and to reach out to anytime they have a need, or just even for the fellowship and for the encouragement. And so it was exciting having Francis and Paul Dasse, who lead our work in Ghana. They flew all the way to Guinea-Bissau, met us there, and we all did that visit together, strengthening that bond and connection with those churches. We also have another connection going on with the church in Guinea-Bissau and the churches in Brazil, who also speak Portuguese and who have been so caring and magnanimous to reach out to the African churches that speak Portuguese and pull them in because they share the same language. And seeing that already happening, sharing meetings together, conference calls together, sharing materials from the Bible together in the same language of Portuguese, it was good for us to know that the church in Guinea-Bissau can get that encouragement. So we're so happy about the way that is already just encouraging the church out there in Guinea-Bissau.
So we went on to Gambia. And again, very small country of about 2 million people. And it was very exciting to also have John and Esther Corey join us. They flew all the way from Freetown, Sierra Leone to join us in the Gambia. And so that we can make that connection again, to create that spiritual first responder to needs, so that churches are not too far away from help and support. So they came and we had a wonderful week, the Gambia, and it has about 95% Muslim. And so it's a very hard terrain, but we're very, very grateful for the faith of the about 11 disciples that are in the city of Banjul, and how God has used them powerfully to move forward. And recently we just sent a couple from our School of Missions Dio and Esther Fabamishe, who God has blessed with a baby girl, and just to see that young church, that small church with this young leader, and to have the influence of Sierra Leone helping them out. We formed what we call the Sierra Gambia, union right there, so that church can be helped and supported. So we're very excited that they're in good hands, and that God will use, the experience and the support of the churches in Sierra Leone to be able to help the church in Gambia. So let's be praying for that union, and let's be praying for that growth that God is about to bring, to the Gambia.
And then we flew from the Gambia to Sierra Leone. We always love going to Sierra Leone. And that church is doing amazing. They are maturing and they are growing. And just seeing their maturity, their unity, and their desire to really grow in being able to take care of what is around them. They're growing in desiring how to plant churches. They're growing in taking care of one another, even in raising up leaders from amongst their midst. They're growing deeper, they're growing stronger in their unity, and they're maturing in every single way. In Sierra Leone, we now have 3 churches. At the time we visited, there were just 2 churches, one in Freetown and one in Mile 91. But in the last few weeks, we're so excited that they planted the church in Makini in Sierra Leone, and now we have 3 churches to the glory of God out there in the country of Sierra Leone. And the Freetown Church in particular has done so well in maturing, in rising up, and in being more sacrificial and selfless to take care of all that is around them, both within the country of Sierra Leone and also out there in the Gambia.
Yes, so it was a great time out there in Freetown. And then we landed in Liberia. That was the last country on this trip. And it was great, being there with the Onis, and just to see the great job that they are doing with their leaders out there. And we were able to visit, there are about 6 churches in Liberia. We went to Banga, we went to Ganta, we went to Totota, and then we were not able to visit our church in Swedro, but we also visited our church in Togmanburg, Bomi. And it was great just being able to see these small churches that we planted just about 12 months ago, growing in their faith, growing in their, just reaching out to the community. It was great just seeing the disciples welcoming us and just seeing how they have grown in their faith and in their courage and in their hope for the future. So it's really amazing. But again, our prayer is that we'll be able to raise up young leaders through the School of Missions to be able to go support these volunteer leaders that are handling most of our churches out there. And so let's be praying for that, and let's be praying for the progress that we're going to be making to seeing the old leaders being supported, encouraged, and trained, and young ones even raised up, to be able to join the workforce as we see our churches grow from strength to strength. As we end this, we want to say, we're going to be on the mission trail again, but this time our stop will be Ghana, where we're going to visit about the 5 churches that we have out there in Ghana, to be able to round up all the visits to all the 5 countries outside of Nigeria. And we will bring you that report next year. I want to thank God for your prayers, that God was able to see us travel by land, by sea, and by air. Right. And we were able to come back safely to our family and getting ready, to celebrate Christmas. That's right. And so my wife and I will say, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance. See you all later.